Hello, everybody. It is the Golf on CBS preview show where we basically recap last week. Do we need to change the name, Patrick? Is it still a recap show or a preview show if we're recapping like every big event like we're going to do here with the U.S. Open?
It's kind of like Justin Timberlake's character in the Social Network.
Yeah.
I think we should just drop preview.
Just drop preview. It's
Golf on CBS show.
We do mostly recapping when it's big events, but we got travelers as well, which we will hit on in my neck of the woods. Patrick, you're back home? You back from Oakmont?
I'm back finally. Not without some interesting travel situations. My golf bag got physically inspected by TSA. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. And they had the audacity, Shane, to just rearrange my entire bag. I'm talking like 6-iron with the 54 hybrid with the 9-iron. They're not supposed to know each other. They're not on a first name basis. My hybrid.
I like you're going Windhorse on us with it. You're like, no.
He sometimes takes the job of my 58 when I'm on dormant Bermuda. They don't like each other, and so I'm kind of all rattled because of that right now.
I was traveling last week, and I feel like I get it every time where they pull the irons out and put them in different spots. But I was kind of rushing to the golf course, and I remember same thing. I'm like, where is my 5-iron? And it was in the low iron part of the golf bag, and it always kind of drives you crazy. But I'm actually impressed you got your golf clubs out of your travel bag, considering the week you just had. How was? Give me like a grade on your week. I mean, you've now been to a few different majors. How was Oakmont? I'm assuming you probably threw a pair of shoes away, but how was the entire week for you?
It was different from the first two. This is my first year traveling to major championships. Obviously, the Masters and the PGA, we have the whole CBS crew. And this one was just kind of solo dolo. So from that perspective, it was kind of a bummer, but it was kind of nice where I got to focus more on writing. I actually got to watch a lot more golf since we're not doing all the hits, which I love, by the way. I'm not downplaying those. So I would grade it as in A-, just because I didn't have an umbrella, and that proved to be a fatal mistake. And I didn't feel like buying one because the merch shop was all the way by 3 on the other side of the course. And I was like, I'm just going to eat it. It is what it is.
Not absolutely not going to do that. Listen, it was, I don't know if it's going to be one of those major weeks we remember much after this week, honestly. I mean, the golf course played tough. It became a bit of a putting contest. The rough was brutal, obviously, as we expected it would be. I think you kind of nailed a lot of things about in terms of previewing this U.S. Open. Was not a bomber, obviously, bomber golf course. JJ Spaun winning. Not the longest hitter in the world, hits it plenty far. But I would say of all and we'll get into random major winners, of all the random major winners, the thing I like to see, did you close the door or did somebody kind of give it to you? And I go back to 2016 a lot with Jimmy Walker. If you remember on 18, Jason Day goes 2-iron, makes eagle to kind of push Jimmy Walker. Jimmy makes a pretty ugly 5 to win, which is, again, totally fine. He had that to play with. But JJ Spaun going birdie-birdie to finish at Oakmont. The birdie at 17 was out there, easiest hole on the golf course on Sunday. But the one on 18, you got DJ playing it in 16, making birdie, and then you get the long putt from Spaun at the 18th. One of the great putts in U.S. Open history. And I think that's something that will carry on with JJ Spaun long after, people's shoes and stuff start to dry out.
Yeah, and it was tough following on the grounds because at the beginning of the day, you hit the nail on the head. I'll sing your praises saying it was more than a 4-horse race. I was pretty adamant. I was like, it's really only the 4 guys under par right now that have a chance. I was dead wrong. It was like a 40-horse race.
It felt like
coming
it,
down.
Dude.
Yeah. And so trying to follow it on the grounds, I mean, you know better than anyone. You pick the wrong group, you're kind of just SOL, right? Yep. You don't have the story. You don't have all the shots that you get to watch. And so I was kind of bouncing back and forth. Luckily, I was on the green on 17 when Spaun came up and got to watch that stretch. But, man, we saw guys on 17 booted away too, with Tyrrell Hatton going bogey to finish. He had a great opportunity. Carlos Ortiz fumbled down the stretch too. But, yeah, I think I'll just remember that putt on 18 because, one, Hovland's looked like it was going to go in the entire way too. From down the line, we were right behind it. And two, I screamed, honestly, when it went in, which you're not supposed to do technically. But it was just one of those things. It was like, holy crap, that actually just went in. All-time celebration as well. And so, like you mentioned, just being able to finish it off and pull away from a very clustered leaderboard, you have to tip your cap to the guy.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about the year, and I think a lot of energy and oxygen has been paid, rightfully so, to Ben Griffin and the way he's played this season. Another great week at the U.S. Open. Andrew Novak having a great year to start. When we're obviously focusing so much of our time on Rory, get to him in a little bit, and Scotty, which are kind of the two entities in golf, and then you've got Bryson that's always hanging around. And I think you and I were both pretty high on Bryson going into the week, and obviously very disappointing week for Bryson, but. I mean, this JJ Spaun dude is like a Rory putt away from being a Players and U.S. Open champion in the same season. I mean, you're talking about, and we talked about this on Sunday. Doing HQ, Patrick. This idea that the kind of everyman golfer has kind of gone away. The fact that there's signature events and there's no cuts and things like that. It seems like we've moved in a different territory, if you will, in professional golf, where all we're doing is talking about superstars. And I feel like Spaun winning this reminds us that there are those dudes that are 50th in the world or 80th in the world that can catch fire and find something and go out there and win a big event. And I mean, like you think about Wyndham Clark a couple of years ago, did that, wins Wells Fargo. I don't think he was in the U.S. Open field right before the win there, and then obviously goes on to win at LACC. And then now you get JJ Spaun. It's just, it's cool for golf nerdy fans, and maybe the top headlines aren't going to pay a lot of attention to it, but I still like seeing this in golf.
It's what golf's all about. It's what professional golf is all about. And like you mentioned, it seems like we've lost our way. We've strayed further from the plot these last few years. And I kind of look at it as, Spaun came into this final round probably fourth on the totem pole of who people wanted to win. You had two guys in their 20s, two young studs. Hovland's like a potential multiple time major winner. Him winning his first would be huge. Burns, the American there, people are rooting for. Adam Scott, already a made man in his mid 40s, trying to add one more. There's something about a guy in his mid 30s, Shane, who figures it out late that I really enjoy. I really do. Because it is relatable in the sense of, in society, you're supposed to have it all figured out by the time you're 30. You should know what your career is. You should know your future. And, JJ Spaun's a guy who didn't know his future this time last year. He thought his career was going to be done on the PGA Tour. He was happy with 8 years on the PGA Tour. He's gone through many tours. He went through that misdiagnosis with diabetes. He's done everything, it seems like. And so for him to climb out of that and become, he's up to world number 8, Shane.
Crazy.
A top 10 player in the world and a major champion, I think is honestly very, very inspiring.
I was thinking about U.S. Opens as a major because it's hard. You kind of think about the U.S. Opens as of late, and they've been relatively exciting. We've had some good ones, obviously, kind of going back to like 2018. I mean, Aaron Hills was kind of a blowout late because Brooks took that over. But, you go back to 2018 as Shinnecock, and Fleetwood, pushes Brooks and has that putt for 62 at 18. And then you have Woodland in 2019 with like the chip off the green on 17 at Pebble. I was thinking about like the moments of these U.S. Opens, right? And when you go back over the last 6 or 7 U.S. Opens, it seems like everybody, maybe away from Wyndham Clark, has had an incredible moment late in the round, like the Fitzpatrick bunker shot, right, at Country Club. John Rahm with those putts on 17 and 18. Bryson out of the bunker last year at Pinehurst. Now Spaun with that putt, the longest putt made all week, right, from anybody in the field, and he makes that. I find it very impressive that at the hardest event in golf on these kind of iconic golf courses, we've continued to have moments that when you're cutting highlights together of the champions, you're going to have one defining moment that everybody's going to remember.
Yeah, I think for Wyndham, it was probably his drive on 18, 72nd hole. But I think actually being serious for Wyndham, it was his approach into 18 the day prior to get into the final group, because it was supposed to be
off the flag stick, or basically off the flag stick, right?
And Ricky 3-putted. It was supposed to be Rory and Ricky in that final group, and Wyndham kind of snuck in there instead. So he tied Ricky. That was it. I look, Shane, I'll toss it back to you. What do you make of all the first time major winners at US Opens? Because you listed all those names. You go back to, I think, like the last 10, 9 of them are first timers. Really,
I
Spieth
mean,
was the one who wasn't. And then you go DJ first timer, Koepka first timer, Koepka again, and then it's Woodland first timer,
wow. I didn't even
uh,
looked at that. That's crazy. I mean,
Bryson first timer. Like it's all first timers except for Koepka and Bryson who won it twice.
well, I mean, you go back. I mean, go back to Ogilvy and Michael Campbell. It's like, I
Yeah.
mean, Campbell, Ogilvy, Cabrera in '07, first timer, Lucas Glover, Graham McDowell, Rory in 11, winning his first major at a US Open, Webb Simpson, Jay Rose, Spieth was his second of the year, DJ first, Woodland, Bryson. I wonder if the way these golf courses are set up adds that level of randomness that we don't get at a lot of majors. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's the lone major that this is the trend that this trend's continuing at. And when you look at this leaderboard, I mean, it was not the Masters, man. It was not the PGA. It's like it was a whole bunch of dudes that were trying to either win for the first time in their career or trying to change kind of the way we look at him in terms of an Adam Scott like character. And I mean, Scotty was there. Like Scotty had a chance, I think, about 12 times
Yeah.
on Sunday. I'm sitting there going, Scotty could win this thing. It felt like if he birdied 18, he had a real chance to do so. But this was a random US Open, and it felt like a lot of the US Opens have felt. I mean, there's always the one character, right? Scotty was the one this year. Rory was the one at LACC. Bryson and Rory last year was kind of the one, really the outlier. But there was always like the one superstar character amongst a bunch of guys that, honestly are probably not going to win another major if they win one.
Yeah. It felt like almost a throwback US Open in the sense of it's just how bad do you want this thing?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to make mistakes. Everyone's going to get good breaks. Everyone's going to get bad breaks. Are you willing to get punched in the face and get back up again? And it felt like JJ Spaun was the guy who did that the best this week because we talked about Sam Burns in the number of bad breaks he got on the back nine there. Think about the divot on 11,
Yep.
divot on 14, no relief on 15. He was probably thinking to himself, the golf gods just do not want me to win this championship right now. And then a good break that no one has really touched on. JJ Spawn's layup on 12, Shane. He hit it into the high stuff onto a hill. Perfect lie.
Yeah.
Got it on the green, up and down, made that 40-footer for birdie. And so it just seemed like a wave of bad breaks came for Burns late. Spawn obviously had those early in his round also, but it was just really a test of attrition and who wanted this the most. And it felt like it was Spawn.
All right, so we were talking about random major winners. I got a question for you. You kind of look back over the last, let's call it 4 or 5 years of major championship golf. We've been blessed with a lot of big names winning them, and then there's been kind of sprinkled in there a few random winners. So I'll give you Wyndham Clark, I'll give you Brian Harmon, I'll give you Cam Smith, I'll give you Fitzpatrick, and I'll give you JJ Spaun. Of those players, who do you think is more likely or most likely to add a second major title to their career before all is said and done?
I think it's got to be Matt Fitzpatrick. He's a guy who has been a winner at every level. You think about the U.S. Amateur win at the Country Club, of course. He's won a ton on the DP World Tour. He's obviously not hitting it or playing his best right now, but he was also just in the mix there at the PGA Championship over the weekend. So it's not like he's that far off. And so I think his long-term pedigree and his runway, what is he, like 29, 30 right now? Still plenty of golf left in front of him. So I think Fitzpatrick's the guy for me. What about you?
Yeah, 30 years old, turns 31 later this year. I think Fitzpatrick is probably the easiest answer here. I think Brian Harmon's a tough one to sell me on because of just the age and how long he's been out there. And I think winning one for how long he's been doing it, probably the accomplish he was looking for. I'm going to say this, you're going to roll your eyes at it. I'd probably go Cam Smith if he can get back to trying to be
someone else.
If he's trying to be a pro golfer. It's like, he obviously is not trying to be a professional golfer right now, but when Cam Smith was working on his game and grinding out, I feel like he was a top 5, top 10 player in the world. Probably similar to Fitzpatrick, to be honest with you. I think I'd probably take the both of those. But I would probably lean Cam Smith around the Open and again around Augusta National. The problem for Cam Smith is, I mean, how many more years does he have of major championship golf? You know, it's like once the exemption runs out, he's going to be done getting in those events unless he starts playing some worldwide golf that's respectable, because he's not going to have a way to get in that if Liv is still around. So I'd probably say Cam Smith in terms of talent, and then I would probably say Fitzpatrick, just because he's going to get into a ton of events considering where he plays.
Yeah, and the Cam Smith key that you touched on, the Augusta piece is huge, where he has a place he knows he can get around, and he plays well pretty much no matter what. It's almost like a diet version of Jordan Spieth. So I don't mind that either, especially if he starts playing real golf again.
Yeah, I mean, like he has 5 top 10s at the Masters in his career, finished T6th in 2024. He's missed 4 straight cuts in major championships. Cam Smith, not good, man. Not good. I got another thing I'm going to throw you at from the week. More disappointed. Bryson shoots a million, misses the cut. Rory makes the cut, had another weird week, played a solid final round. Strange stuff going on with Rory. Or Wyndham Clark, who's, I mean, dude, if you go, like, I'm going to say this, man, go to Wyndham Clark's Instagram and read the comments. I mean, people are not happy with the guy for some of the antics in the locker room, the attitude, all of that good stuff. Who's walking away like with the most, let's call it anxiety from Oakmont after all that went down?
Anxiety? It's definitely Wyndham Clark. That's one of the things you do the night before you wake up, the group chat's blowing up, and they're like,
"Are you okay, man?
I did what last night?" No, that could not have been me. That could not have been me just busting through 2 lockers in the Oakmont Country Club locker room.
What are you doing, dude?
There are people in the lounge at the airport talking about it. They're like, "You see what Wyndham Clark did in the locker room?" I was like, "No." And then had them explain it to me just so I could hear it from their perspective.
Yeah.
I think the most disappointing is probably Bryson for me, just because he's turned himself into this major championship savant on U.S. soil. He had the new irons in play. He was even par on that par 5 on Thursday and just got nothing out of his round. It felt like one of those days where he hit it good enough to shoot under par. And I think if he shoots even par on Thursday, Friday's a completely different story. But I think it's Bryson. And I'll say one thing. A lot of people were comping Oakmont to Winged Foot early in the week, Shane.
No.
Like, oh, you could just hit it everywhere. It doesn't matter.
No.
And so I appreciate Bryson himself, even though people didn't even take his word for it. The guy who won at Winged Foot, he said, yeah, this is nothing like Winged Foot at all. And I still heard it, Shane. I still heard it everywhere.
I would say one more person that I think is worthy of just discussion in terms of maybe disappointment outside of, Burns and Adam Scott and all that. I mean, obviously those guys disappointed because they had a chance to win in theory, basically standing on 10T. I think Scotty is going to look back on this week and say, I mean, he had 5 misses inside of 5 feet. He had 7 3-putts on the week. A couple of those go. And, I mean, I know like people love to look at a leaderboard and say, well, Scotty finished X amount of shots behind JJ Spaun. But if Scotty posts even or +1, like stuff changes for players out there on the golf course.
Different.
It's like the 2-goal lead in hockey, right? Like everybody always talks about the scariest lead. I just feel like if Scotty, I mean, the 3-putt on what was that? Like 11 from above the hole, like
from
12
8
feet. Oh, brutal. And then a couple of short misses
for double.
Yeah, it's just, and I mean, the 11 one honestly looked like a lack of concentration. Just kind of looked like he was frustrated with another miss. He has the lip out on 9, the lip out at 10, and it wasn't really a good putt for birdie, and just goes up there and kind of hits it. But, Scotty, listen, he's going to be close because of the ball striking all the time. That's just going to be who Scotty is. But a decent putting week or weekend, and I think Scotty wins this thing by a couple.
I totally agree. He lost by 5, I believe, at the end of the day, 4 over -1. I think that math checks out. It felt like you could find 5 very easy strokes from every round of Scotty Scheffler this week that he could have gotten. The putts, hitting the church pews 3 times out of 4 rounds, just stuff like that, little stuff like that. And the fact that he was still, like you mentioned, felt like, okay, he could birdie 17 here. He'll get one on 18, post that number. Is he going to do this thing somehow? It just goes to show you how high this guy's floor is.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild to watch. I mean, the 4-putt on Friday on 17 killed me. You know, it was like
I didn't even remember that.
it might have been it might be the worst putt he's hit this year.
Oh,
The
so
first
bad.
putt. He hit it like 15 feet by and then gasses that one by. Gross stuff. I mean, would you say this was a good US Open? Like, do you think it was a good US Open, or do you think it was with the weather and all that stuff and the fact that they got so much rain early in the season, the winter, all that stuff? Like, are we going to look back on it and go, oh yeah, Oakmont, that happened?
I don't think it's very memorable, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
There was a point on Saturday where it was like 4:00. The espresso bar was closing down. I was like, I think I
You're
might
such a
need another
fancy
one.
boy, man.
I was like, I might
Espresso
need
bar.
another one. Well, I mean, hat tip to them. I forget. Brouhaha in the media center. Very good.
Shout
The
out.
hardest,
Shout out.
honestly, the hardest workers in the media center, 1000%. And I was like, do I really need another flat white in me right now? And I was like, I do, because this tournament is kind of a little sleepy. And so I think the weather obviously did not help. The rain delays. And I think it could be a different story if it was firm and fast and just firing all week. But it was just another reminder that US Opens are just freaking slogs, Shane. Just slogs. The long rounds, everyone having to wait for their balls to roll out, them complaining about rules officials in the rough and all that. There was a good reminder of that, because it felt like in recent years we haven't really gotten that with the LACC and the Pinehurst and all that. So just another reminder. But I don't know if it'll be too memorable down the line.
Yeah, it's just always like it didn't. I mean, listen, I was watching it on TV. It just the like it didn't feel exciting on the ground. You know, Sunday
Yeah.
did a little bit. Like a few of those putts late. Obviously, the one at 18 was awesome, but you know, like the vibe. I mean, I know it's the front's so far from the clubhouse, and you got to walk across that crazy bridge that I think was taking those people out there 40 minutes to get across. It's like not easy to get out there, and that's where you want to go because like the church pews, and you want to see that if you've never been to Oakmont. I mean, you're talking 30, 40-minute walk to just get out there, and then the golf course is just a brute. And listen, if Bryson wins this thing by 4, the story's probably a little bit different. But I mean, kudos and flowers to JJ, because it was an epic finish, and there was a lot of storylines in a lot of ways that could have gone. And the fact that he kind of grabbed it and did it, I mean, we'll see what's ahead. I mean, I feel like he's going to make this Ryder Cup team, and I think he's probably a good fit for the golf course. Like, you drive it the way he drives it, you're going to be a help to somebody out there. And I feel like if the putter is anything close to what we saw this week from JJ Spaun, he's got. I mean, again, you and I've talked about the drought that is the American Ryder Cup team on the bottom end of it, and we'll get to some of those players in a bit. We got a new segment we're going to do, but if you need somebody to hit a fairway on 17 or on 16 or 18 at Bethpage, are you leaning on JJ Spaun over a lot of those guys on the team? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, and I think people will look back to 23 and you see Clark, you see Harmon, 2 major guys who kind of punched their tickets to the Ryder Cup team because of those wins. Harmon acquitted himself pretty nicely. Wyndham Clark, different conversation, but Spaun kind of has a little bit of Harmon in him. I think it's a nervous confidence is how I would label it, where even at the beginning of the week, he said he tried to stay off social media because the rough videos were adding anxiety to him, which is hilarious.
the thing everybody does.
Yeah.
Did you do a rough video, by the way, or did you stay away from that space?
So I did a rough video from the perspective of the golf ball. I just threw my phone. I threw my phone up in the air, no case, wild.
Are you you're a no case guy?
Yeah, always been a no case guy.
How many have broken in your years?
Only one.
Wow.
And not my fault. Someone bumped into me. Doesn't count.
Golly, wow. I'm very impressed. I was pretty good about the non-break in the iPhone case for a long time. And I went on about a 3 broken phone year a couple of years ago, which was tough. Your insurance runs out. You got to pay full boat for the new one. It is wild. But JJ Spaun is your U.S. Open champion. Oakmont had another U.S. Open. And now, of course, the attention turns to the Open Championship. And, of course, this week we'll talk a little bit of Travelers and dive into Travelers. Travelers is a great week. Excited about the golf tournament. It's been wet and nasty up here as well, but it looks like it's going to dry out over the weekend. So we'll get to all that in a little bit. All right, it is 5 minutes with our man Justin Ray. You know the man, you follow the man. We go from one major to another, by the way. So we'll get into some LPGA major talk in a bit. But I want to start, Jay Ray, with a little U.S. Open chatter, specifically JJ Spaun, our champion, and how he went about it to win.
Yeah, I've got a triumvirate of how in the world did he do this statistics, and in that
Perfect.
he did some things on Sunday that we do not see winners of major championships do. Number one, 0 for 6 scrambling in the final round. 0 for 6.
Wow.
Nobody had won a major going worse than 0 for 4 in the final round over the last 30 years. And that's only because that's as far back as the scrambling data is tracked at the Open Championship. So I can't go back any further. It may be an all-time thing, but as far back as the data
Can't pull
goes,
over any further. This is
no one had gone 0 for 6.
The limit does exist.
No one had gone worse than 0 for 4 scrambling in a final round and won a major championship. 6 bogeys in the final round. Nobody won a U.S. Open with 6 or more bogeys in the final round since Hale Irwin in 1979 at Inverness. So long time there, more than I've been on Earth. And then the number one thing, and when they said this on the broadcast, my jaw hit the floor, and then I went back and did everything I could to find it out and verify it, and it's true. He made the turn Sunday in 40 shots. The last time someone won a U.S. Open making the turn in 40 or worse, Francis Ouimet, 1913.
Man, we met.
Unbelievable.
Love
So
to
he
bring
did
him up.
all 3 of those things and still won. And then a fun fact about the 1913, of course, Francis Ouimet was an amateur, so he didn't get any money, but the winner's share that week was a cool $300.
Sweet. Was it
JJ
more
got
this
4.3.
week? Was it more money this week or no?
Slightly more, 4.3 million.
Inflation.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, inflation. Not only did he do all that, I am curious one thing. Do you know the biggest gap? I'm putting you on the spot here, which is never good. The biggest gap between front 9 and back 9 scores of a winner? Because it was 8 strokes, right?
It was 8. I mean, Francis Ouimet was 43. He shot 79, 43, 36. So that's 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, mathematically, it's almost impossible to get to that point, really. Yeah. I mean, 38-30, maybe I could see that happening, or like a 39-31, but going beyond that, I mean, no. So I don't have that off the top of the head.
Yeah, that's bad.
I think I contextualized it okay, though. I think I did all right there.
No, you did great. You did great. Totally well. You
could have just made something up and nobody would have known. So
yeah, that's true. Wyndham Clark,
Julius Boros back in
the famous 51-29.
All right, I'll get back on track here. That's on me. Hand up. That's a neck. His finish though, Jay Ray, all timer with the birdie on 17, birdie on 18. How rare was that from a U.S. Open champ?
So it's only happened 5 times in the history of the U.S. Open. John Rahm at Torrey Pines, Tom Watson at Pebble Beach. We're getting really historic here with some of the great U.S. Opens of all time. Jack Nicklaus at Baltusrol, and Ben Hogan at Oakmont. So the only players to win a U.S. Open at Oakmont, finishing birdie-birdie, Ben Hogan and JJ Spaun. How about that?
I mean, you got to love it, man. I mean, again, it's like, Jay Ray, we were talking about it. I mean, this isn't falling into the championship. This is winning the championship. And as random as the winner was in JJ Spaun, he went out and got it, And I mean, when John Rahm did it at Torrey, we all lost our minds. So the fact that he did it at an even tougher golf course at Oakmont is very, very cool, especially 18. I mean, 18's impossible. How about our man Scotty? How about Mr. Scheffler this past week?
So this is a simple one, but I mean, look, he finishes tied for 7th, and it's basically a disappointment as a guy who was such a massive favorite. But over the last 4 seasons on the PGA Tour now, he has 54 top 10 finishes. That's 19 more than anyone else in that span. Rory McIlroy is second with 35. So it's just a basic number. Top 10s don't mean a whole lot other than contextualizing a pretty good week for some of the top players. But to have 19 more than any other player over the last 4 years is pretty staggering.
Goodness.
Jeez Louise. God. I still think he can win this tournament. I know it's
Oakmont.
over, but
honestly, my money was on Rocco Mediate after the delay, and they threw to the Rocco and Tiger. I mean,
bad beat.
The peace sign beat Buck. That was a time, man, to transport back. That
crazy to go back. No phones. Everybody's watching the golf. There was no.
I had a BlackBerry that year in 08. I had a BlackBerry.
What was your BBM?
I felt very
BBM
professional.
name?
I was literally just out of college, so. But the peace sign belt buckle on Rocco, which was weird even in the moment, I remember in 08. The number one thing I noticed, cargo shorts everywhere as
Yeah,
far
a
as the
lot
eye
of
could
cargo
see.
shorts.
A
Practical.
terrible look. What will we do?
Practical.
Kind of make it.
And we're practical. I wore them all
So
the
many
time in
pockets.
college.
So many pockets.
Lots of
All right.
pockets. Yeah.
J-Ray, major championship season rolls on. We got one on the LPGA. I know you're heavily involved there. You're going to be everywhere this week. You got any nuggets for us for the KPMG?
I want to talk about probably the most interesting player, I think, this season on the LPGA Tour, because we're just all waiting for her to break through in a big event. That's Gino Titico. So she's been so good in the regular season on the LPGA the last few seasons. Over the last 3 years in non-majors, 36 starts, 18 top 5 finishes. She finishes in the top 5 half the time she plays in non-majors. But in the majors in that span, 12 starts, one top 5 finish, rather. So when's it going to happen? We just feel like it's inevitable. I picked her to win Chevron. That didn't happen, obviously. It just feels like she's right there on the precipice of being possibly a dominant generational type player. Amazing talent. We just haven't seen it yet in the majors. Is this the week? Could be.
J-Ray, you got like TV this week too. Where are we going to see you?
You can see my giant head on Golf Channel Wednesday. I believe 1:30 p.m. Central at the moment, but I'm just going to go on set with Anna and the whole crew there, and Mel Reed, and talk KPMG Women's PGA Week. It's right down the street from me here in Frisco. And then Thursday, I'm going to be doing a little bit of feature groups with Grant Boone and Judy Rankin. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'll be in the booth helping out the rest of the week doing what I normally do.
Let's go.
I mean, what a rock star. I mean, I appreciate people taking notice to the brilliance that is Justin Ray. Rocco Meat Ate on the way out. That is a belt buckle. I hope he still has it. J-Ray, always appreciate it.
It should be in the World Golf Hall of Fame. Let's be
Put it in there. Put it in there.
Put it in there next to Tiger's red shirt.
All right, Patrick, question for you. Is JJ Spaun on the American Ryder Cup team?
I think he has to be. I think he has to be, Shane. He put together a very big charge. He's up 10 spots after that U.S. Open win to number 3 in the rankings, ahead of Bryson DeChambeau. And I think unless something drastic and dramatic happens, he's going to be on that team.
So Scotty's qualified, Xander ahead of him. You see JJ Spaun there. The points are a little confusing, Patrick, but we were talking about it before we got going. Outside of Henley, Ben Griffin, Harris English, basically the crew that's outside of that top 6 automatic spots, outside of McNeely, Harris English, Griffin, and Russell Henley basically winning out this season, it feels like JJ Spaun is going to land a spot. I mean, as you mentioned, ahead of Bryson, who basically has one more qualifying tournament left to play the Open Championship, and JT and Colin Morikawa. It almost feels like he's now on the team.
Yeah, it would take Henley winning the Travelers, like Griffin winning the Open, McNeely winning St. Jude, and then English winning BMW. Not only winning out, Shane, but winning those events, because the points are tied to the dollar amounts, and those are the biggest money purses left in the season.
Send him his clothes. Get him the red, white, and blue. Let's get him the USA hat. JJ Spaun, going to be at Bethpage, going to be on the squad. Put the Q next to his name. All right, I did want to ask you a couple questions before we got to a new segment of mine about this new PGA Tour CEO announced, I believe this morning. Was it Tuesday morning the PGA Tour announced it? Brian Rolapp, I think he was with the NFL previously. I'd heard from a couple of people in and around the NFL. Great dude, perfect fit for this spot. What have you been hearing? What'd you read?
Yeah, it's not often that a hire in a position of this magnitude is celebrated almost unanimously across the board. The newsbreakers were pumped about it. I was talking to the ice cream man there at the U.S. Open, Josh Carpenter, with Sports Business Journal. He hates that nickname, by the way, but he gets all the scoops, so that's why I call him that. He was saying the PGA Tour was courting him for quite a while. Like, this was their guy. They knew they wanted Rolapp. At the NFL for 2 decades, he was Goodell's number 2. People thought he'd be the commissioner of the NFL one day. He said the commissionership never crossed his mind. He was focused on the job at hand, Shane. And like so the biggest thing that Rolapp brought to the NFL, he's very media savvy, which I think is great for the PGA Tour for a number of reasons, is he was kind of the guy who invented Thursday Night Football.
Okay.
It was his idea. Hopefully he brings the Color Rush jerseys to the PGA Tour as well. But he was able to, make TNF its own thing and monetize the absolute crap out of it, where you have 3 different streamers. You have the broadcast as well. And so very media savvy. NBC before that, worked the turn at Congressional as well. He did say his handicap is, quote, confidential. He's not going to be giving that out. But
Yeah,
I
I've
think
heard he's not a golfer. I've heard he's not a big golfer, like doesn't play a ton of golf, which is fine. Don't have to be a golfer to be in this position. And to your point on the media stuff, I've heard he's big on, like, he's really good at looking ahead. You know, like what's next? What can we do to change stuff? A lot of kind of the old head stuff that sticks in sports a lot of the time. He pushes that aside and brings in kind of new voices and new bodies and things like that. So I think golf can use that, to be honest with you, really across the board. And so if this is the man to do it, I'm excited about it. And like I said, I mean, there's so much opportunity in this sport. You know, I think that's one thing with professional golf at hand is the opportunity to maybe do some different stuff. You know, I mean, you and I've talked about some ideas like the cut cam and focusing on, you know, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and kind of giving that its own identity and its own personality. You know, maybe bringing in some tour players into PGA Tour Live and giving them their own channel, I think is something I think would be really cool in and around the media space of golf. But there's so much that can be done with, you know, I mean, we have 18 football fields every week, you know, where there's holes and there's players and there's morning tee times and afternoon tee times. You could find some smart people to do some smart ideas around pro golf. And I hope that's something Brian does.
Yeah, in the NFL, the thing with that league is the product is only half of it, right? It's a 24/7, 365 type of league. And I feel like the PGA Tour has struggled in the fall at times with its storytelling and trying to get that up. Obviously, a very difficult part of the calendar going against the NFL and other sports. But that's one area where I think there's a lot of juice left to be squeezed.
All right, so Brian's in there. Good luck to him and the team at the PGA Tour.
Brian.
Obviously, what's up? Yeah, your life probably has been really tough to this point, so I hope everything goes your way and you start to get some breaks. I do have a little segment I want to throw your way. It's called "Hey, what the hell's going on?" What do you think about the name? Do you like it or no?
What did I do?
No. You're good. No. This is about more like other people in golf. So I want to start with Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas has found his game this season in let's say in one avenue of golf, and that's the PGA Tour level golf. His last 11 majors, Patrick, 7 missed cuts, 1 top 10. That top 10 is only top 30 in major championships. This is a guy that we get to Augusta every year and talk about the short game and the shot shapes and all that stuff. Obviously, has won major championships. He's won one style of major championship in his career, a couple of PGAs. Even the second PGA was, I don't want to call fluky, but was a bit random with Mito in 18 at Southern Hills. And even the play previous to that wasn't great at the majors. What's going on with this dude? This was supposed to be one of the generational best players.
I take no joy in this, Shane, but the eye test does not lie with Justin Thomas. He is a phenomenal PGA Tour player, a great PGA Tour player on golf courses where you don't necessarily need to find the fairway consistently. You have a lot of wedges in hand. He's putting the absolute crap out of the golf ball this year, his best putting year ever in his entire career. But major championships ask you to drive the golf ball. And Justin Thomas cannot drive the golf ball right now. Not even in the major championships alone, but look at his play at Quail Hall or Muirfield Village. Also, he shot 80 in the first round and then battled back. Players Championship first round, he shot 78 and then shot the course record the next day. And so I think majors, and you see it with Scotty Scheffler, they really test your floor. Scheffler had no business shooting 71 on Friday, but he scratched and clawed, put together an unbelievable round. Justin Thomas's ceiling is still very high. His floor, unfortunately, I think is still very low, and that comes out in major championships. He's got to change something, though.
Got to change something. I mean, you look through some of these numbers, dude, and you brought up some of the high numbers, but I mean, 76-76 at Oakmont, 73-72 at the PGA, shoot 76 in the third round at the Masters this year. And then you start to dive back like previous seasons when he was really struggling in the majors. And obviously he hadn't been great this year, but the Masters last year, shoots 79 in the second round, misses the cut. US Open, 77 in the opening round. I mean, like these aren't, he shoots 77 in the final round of the Open Championship last year. Like, and I mean, if you go back, it's even higher. I mean, he had
80s.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you go back a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, these major rounds are like not even close for JT. And I think you nailed it with the driver, but it's just surprising. You kind of saw him pop on the scene. He's won a lot. Like he's one of those guys that gets a lot of victories, and obviously that's dried up the last couple of years. But it is back to the drawing board for him. I don't know if it's, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this. It's not really my domain. Like, does he need to find a new coach? Does he need a new, a new person on the bag doing that? Obviously, he's worked with his dad a long time. I don't know about all that, but it's just for the talent he has. These numbers are crazy, and the run he's on in the majors is putrid, and it's got to improve. And like you said, he's got to find more fairways and find a way to drive the golf ball.
Yeah, I think last year's Open was Justin Thomas in a nutshell. 68, 78, 67, 77. And I think he shot 45 on that front nine in the second round also. Yeah, I'm not in the consulting business anymore, so I'm not going to talk about the hiring and the firing that needs to be done at Thomas Incorporated, but I think Minister is like one of the best on the PGA Tour, so I'm not sure that's quite it either.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Call Brian maybe and see his thoughts are our new CEO. See if he's got thoughts on JT. All right, next subject here, Bryson DeChambeau, and I think we talked about this after. I believe we talked about it after the PGA, the iron play. Total strokes gain in his last 6 major rounds. It's been a little better. I mean, he's gained almost 2 shots in 1 round with the iron play. Outside of that, it's losing shots a lot of the time. Got new irons in the bag this past week, obviously at Oakmont, shot $1 million. Listen, you talk about eye test with this guy. The driver is otherworldly, right? We're seeing this guy that's doing something with the driver. The fact that he hits it as straight as he does off the tee is incredible, but it feels like once he finds the fairway, there's one gear. And I go back to like Rory a few years ago with the wedges. It didn't seem like he had another play outside of just full gas. I think about DJ, and kind of the height of power of DJ when he couldn't quite figure out the irons and the short irons. It just feels like every swing from Bryson is full bore. And the weird thing is, Patrick, when you watch him on like YouTube and he does all the kind of goofy challenges, he's capable of like taking speed off these shots. I wonder if that's something he needs to start to rethink in terms of the way he hits the irons in these big events, because that's kind of what's holding him back right now.
Yeah, it is. It has to be so infuriating. Also, one, fun to play golf like Bryson DeChambeau, just hitting driver 350 everywhere. But then walking up to your ball and being like, oh gosh, now I have to hit a wedge. Are you kidding me? I don't want to do this.
This isn't fun.
Yeah. But like you mentioned, when he's going on his YouTube, he has the clock. He's talking about going 10 o'clock. He's going to take a little bit off this. He has all the numbers. It's kind of like that Phil interview with Faraday back in the day where, he knows the dew on the ground is going to add 3, take a little spin off. That's kind of like Bryson in his YouTube videos where he's thinking through everything, and it sounds fantastic. But you look at the golf courses where his iron play has struggled, it's real shot maker type golf courses. And you got to be a shot maker at Open Championships. He has struggled outside that one at St. Andrews where it was wide open, no wind, can really do anything around that place that week. But Augusta National, the iron play has lagged, and it's been very impressive that he's contended in spite of that. And then this year at Oakmont too, the iron play wasn't great, but he just didn't drive the ball well enough this week, I felt, to really be in the mix at the U.S. Open.
All right, next one for you. Did the Masters playoff loss kill the soul of Justin Rose? Have you looked at the way Justin Rose has played since Augusta?
I have not. How bad?
It's not just bad. It's like enormous rounds posted.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, he finished T42nd at the Heritage, played fine. Truist Championship, he shoots 77 in the second round, WD. PGA Championship, 76, 75, misses the cut. Shot 80 in the third round at the Memorial. Missed the cut in Canada, and then 77, 77. Couple of hockey sticks. Shout out Stanley Cup in Florida at the U.S. Open. So no finishes in the top 40 since his playoff loss, and both of those finishes are those no cut events, or I guess Memorial there's a cut. I mean, like, this is a guy that I think was kind of a lock on the European Ryder Cup
Yeah.
team. And now you're sitting there going, do you want him on the team?
Yeah, now we got RNP contending at the US Open, trying to take that spot from him. That is bad. He's down to 140 in data golf as the world number 23.
Wow.
That's got to be one of the largest spreads, I'm guessing, that they have. I can't imagine anyone's bigger than that. At the PGA Championship, Shane, I was following, it was John Rahm, Patrick Reed, and Justin Rose, and John Catlin came up, and he brought up the Masters to Justin Rose. And it was one of those things where you kind of cringe, you look away, but you're still listening.
You want to say this? Yeah.
You're still listening. And he was like, dude, I was rooting for you so bad. Like, fantastic play. Oh my God, you were so close. You almost won the Masters. Like, how crazy is that, Justin? You almost won. And Rose was like, thanks, man. Like, yeah. Okay. And he just kept on talking about it. Like, they were waiting on the tee, and he's like, oh my God. And Rory dumped it in the bunker there and regulate. I'm like, there's no freaking way this guy's talking like this right now. I'd be so livid if I was Justin Rose. So I think it's only human nature to have a little bit of a down spell after coming so close to a championship like that. But honestly, before this conversation, I did not know how bad it was. But that group this week at Oakmont had zero mojo at all. That was just all-time bad vibes between Lowry, Rory, and Jay Rose.
I mean, honestly, like, the most fun they had was when Lowry picked the ball up, and they were all just like yucking it up. Like, that was like the lone time where it felt like anybody was having any fun in that group. Jay Rose, by the way, now 9th on the Ryder Cup rankings. I also wonder, that the Sergio quotes, I think it was after the PGA when he was asked about, getting picked for the Ryder Cup team, and he goes, I'm not playing well enough. Like, I would decline the pick. I'm also wondering that about Justin Rose, because I'm assuming, when you kind of look at the parallels of the season pre-Augusta and after, I mean, top 3 at Pebble, top 10 at Bay Hill, obviously makes the playoff at the Masters. It's like, this guy's a shoe-in, right? I mean, you're going to get the veteran presence on the team. Luke Donald's absolutely going to pick him. And now I even wonder if Justin Rose, considering how much respect these European players have for the Ryder Cup and the Ryder Cup team specifically, I wonder if he even says, pick me, if his game is this lost, because he is in the weeds, man. I mean, those numbers are very, very bad. Just a couple more for you. Patrick Cantlay, or what are we doing here with him? Like,
he's so unserious.
Unserious golfer. Okay. I mean, I don't need a lot. I'm just asking you if this is this where we're at? This feels like a golf course. Oakmont feels like a perfect Patrick Cantlay golf course.
Yeah, I got to give a tip the cap to David Gordon. He just absolutely hates Patrick Cantlay on the SVP pod, calls him Fraudley. The nickname doesn't even make sense, honestly. Patrick like Fraudley. It was just like so forced.
Yeah.
But yeah, tough for Cantlay. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he cares either at this point.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it.
Ludwig, also one of those players that's like, it's just not there right now. And I mean, might be like the little, I guess you'd call it a sophomore slump or something for Ludwig. Obviously a ton of talent, but been in the weeds as well. I mean, it's just strange to see certain players right now. I mean, Scotty's there every week. Rory's kind of been whatever the heck's going on with Rory following the Masters. But some of these top 5, top 10 players, like, look at the names we've talked about. Justin Thomas, nowhere near contention at these major championships. Cantlay, a player that's been hanging around. Morikawa's been relatively unimpressive this season as well. Did not play well on a golf course I think fit him extremely well. And then you've got Ludwig, who every golf course you show up, you're like, well, this has got to fit his game perfectly. And the game's just not quite there. I know he's been dealing with some health stuff too.
Yeah, I followed that first round of his because I think he was winning this golf tournament at one point, right? He birdied his first 2 holes out of the gate on 10 and 11 and then missed the cut. But there were a lot of, and I've said before, I think Joe Skovron has the best job in professional golf. He's just playing Tiger Woods 2008 pretty much with him. Yeah. Just point, shoot, let me use the joystick to spin it back for you. And Ludwig made 5 bogeys, I think, in his first round. All 5 were just horrible misses. I'm talking short-sided with wedges to pins running away from you. And it's just like, that is the big X in your yardage book on that shot. And he just found all of them, right now. So I think maybe some course management stuff. And you got to remember, this was only his second U.S. Open.
Yeah.
So still, of course, plenty of time to improve on picking apart golf courses. But I think there's some course management stuff in there.
That'll wrap up our new segment, What the Hell's Going On? I'm assuming we'll bring that back maybe around the Open Championship and beyond. We're not going to do power rankings for the Open this week, by the way. Probably kick those off next week as we get closer and closer to Portrush. Excited about that one. Early call, by the way. Bobby Mack, I think, might be my pick for the week.
Okay.
Played extremely well there the last time the Open was there, and obviously played extremely well on a very tough Oakmont. But I do want to talk a little Travelers with you. We turned right back to a signature event, and we got a lot of big names in the field. As of now, Scotty in the field, Rory in the field, right? Xander's in the field, Morikawa's in the field. I mean, a lot of these guys are back, and they're going to be in Connecticut for the week. I think this is one of my favorite PGA Tour events, just simply because the back nine is awesome, and you can obviously see a lot of fireworks. Shout out Kevin Streelman. It feels a little bit like Scottsdale to me as well. And the tournament's great. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I live in Connecticut. I will not be going to the Travelers, by the way, this week. I don't do that stuff. I'm not going to a golf tournament unless I have to be there. Unless I'm working, I'll watch it on the television and enjoy the coverage there. But what are your thoughts on River Highlands, the golf tournament, all that stuff?
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's a good finish there with the 15 through 17. Really fun. The drivable par 4, good par 3, and then 17 is always a hole that
kind of a wonky par 4. 18's a wedge. 17's a little weird hole, but there's a lot of birdie holes in there.
And weird stuff tends to happen at this tournament. You think back to the Kramer Hickok, Harris English. What was it? 8-hole playoff.
I think so.
Back in the day, just would not end. Speaking of Groundhog Day, and then even last year, Shane, with the protesters, who could forget that? Them trying to get the paint off the 18th green.
Right, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that was last year. Gosh, that feels like 10 years ago.
And so shout out to that security guy. Great form tackle. Like that's legal in rugby.
Head right in the middle of the pads, man.
Yeah,
that's where you
legal in rugby. But this is a tournament. One, I know the tournament officials are jacked up about it being a signature event. I was talking to, this is not going to be a good look. The guy who runs Travelers, the name of this is escaping me right now. Feels like it's going to be an Andy. I'm going to say Andy is his name. His survey for fan experience, number one, was making sure the guys were around for the weekend. So they're pumped being a signature event. Brings the people out. He was getting sponsor exemption letters at the end of 2024 for this because people want to come to this golf tournament. I was talking to caddies last week too, Shane. They were already one eye on the Travelers because they treat them so well. They get their own courtesy car this week. That's the only tournament that does that, I believe. So it's just an event that does everything right on a golf course that, look, it's short. Guys can tear it up. We saw Cam Young shoot 59 in the third round. I think he was 20 under and 20 some holes over that stretch there. But it's a good dessert, I would say, after the U.S. Open.
I would say the vibes, you think about Heritage, and the Heritage, they've always done an amazing job. Let's cater to the wives. Let's make sure they have an amazing week. So then the wives are happy. The players are happy because everybody's chilling out and enjoying it. I mean, I think the vibe has to be like this. You've got to have this incredible vibe around your tournament following majors, especially following a U.S. Open. I mean, I think if you leave the U.S. Open and go to a place that's going to kick your butt, players probably aren't going to be that excited about it. But I think coming to a golf course like this, and like you said, taking care. I mean, your caddy's happy, you're going to be happy. I mean, this is not a complicated thing to go through. So it'll be fun. I think it's one of those you flip it on the weekend and you always find yourself enjoying it. And that's all you can ask. I've got my can win, can't win list. I'm pretty happy with it this week. I feel like it's a good one. I don't know if I could say that every week. We did not have JJ Spaun on either of our lists last week. I know that's shocking, but
last man out.
Last man just missed out on our 3. But my can win. I'm going to start here with an interesting name, and I want to hear what your thoughts are on this. I think Max Homa can win this golf tournament this week. Obviously didn't play in the U.S. Open. Knows JJ Spaun. I think he's played a decent amount of golf with JJ Spaun in Scottsdale. I wonder if there's level of motivation there. I mean, I don't think Max needs motivation necessarily, but you're not at the U.S. Open. You kind of had that ugly 3-putt on the last hole in the qualifier, and then you lose out, obviously, in the playoff for the spot there. I'm assuming either didn't watch any of the U.S. Open or watched a lot of it. That's kind of where I think he probably sits. But I wonder if showing up here, he's like, all right, man, like, let's either get it in gear or it's a totally 100% lost season. So Homa's my first name on my can win list. Thoughts?
I think he's close. I think you see a lot of volatility in these guys before they piece it together. Second round at the PGA, first round at Muirfield Village. And then it was just like all time. It was like back-to-back gut punches to him with the U.S. Open qualifying. Then he shot back-to-back 69s in Canada and missed the cut by 1. Like, yeah, give me a week off after going through that 7-day stretch there. I don't need to watch golf or play golf. So I don't mind it. I think he's close. And we know when Max gets a sniff of it, he's as good of a closer as there is.
I've also got Xander on my list of can win. Again, just kind of feels like we're trending in the direction of getting a victory this season. And my last pick, which I think should be a staple on this every time, is Keegan. Just feel like Keegan is probably a decent a pick. I mean, I'm hoping he's in the field this week, for goodness sakes. But I feel like Keegan gets fired up for the Travelers, considering where it's at and all that stuff.
Yep, I have Keegan as well. Grew up just a stone throw away.
By the way, you can't say this about every town. You say it about Pittsburgh. How far do we have to get away from Boston before
Someone commented on the show last week, Pittsburgh is 9 hours away from Vermont. I mean, the broadcast just leans into it every time there's an event in the Northeast. So pretty much anywhere east of the Mississippi and north of Washington, D.C., that quadrant of the country, that's Keegan country in my eyes. So
all right. I by the way, I already know who you're going to pick for these next couple, by the way.
I think you do.
Yeah.
Daniel Berger, naturally. Yeah. I honestly thought you would pick him too. And then I'm going to steal a Shane Bacon special, but I've been driving the Russ bus forever. Russell Henley.
Man, almost on my list. On my list as well. Got one more major to land my. He's going to win a major this season. I thought there was an opportunity on Sunday there at Oakmont for a bit that he might actually do it. My can't win list is star-studded. I'll say that. I don't think Rory's winning. Probably not winning the rest of the year, to be fair. I might just continue to put him on this list. I just don't think Scotty's going to win this week. I know he wins a lot of these post-major tournaments. I mean, you think about Heritage and Travelers last year and all that stuff. Like, I just don't think he's going to win. I think a lot went into the week. There was some frustration with the game. And I got Sam Burns on my can't win list as well. Just a lot, probably going to be a couple of weeks before he's back to being a human again.
Yeah. We share 2 out of 3, Burns, Rory. But I'll add some other ones. We'll say Ludwig. He's not winning this week. No. Hovland coming off a long week, not winning. I think JT could win this week, which is unfortunate. That's just like the staple. That's the free space.
I kind of thought about putting him on my can win list as well.
Yeah, this is the type of golf course you got to pin your ears back. Yeah, honestly, JT, I'm gonna say he's my guy. He's my pick to win now.
Justin Thomas, okay.
Yeah, I think that's it though. Morikawa not winning.
Okay, got you. I think you said everybody in the field's name there, which is good. I'll go Xander as my winner, and then I'm going to go Homa as my sleeper. Do you have a pick? I know you said you're going to roll with JT. Do you have a kind of a sleeper down the list you like?
My sleeper is Ryan Gerard. I keep running into his dad at these events, and he has no idea who I am at every time. So I'm going to say him.
Do you say hi to the dad or no?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, we met at the PGA Championship. We accidentally stumbled on his practice round with Ben Griffin, introduced myself. We're having a time. And then I ran into him at the U.S. Open on the range. He just had absolutely no idea who I was. And then I saw him Sunday. Gerard's 7 over through 7. I'm just being a smart ass for no reason. I'm playing tough today, huh?
You're the guy messing with Rose. Oh, man, this is tough. You're going to miss the cut. You guys get your flights? Are you looking on delta.com now, or what's the deal? Hey, can we clear one thing up too? JT was practicing on Saturday, and that was a big social media thing. I'm assuming he was staying around for the charter, right? The charter that goes to the Travelers. Why
I'm
would
guessing.
you not? Why would you
And,
not
like,
stay around for the free flight?
all those guys do that.
Yeah.
Like, Jaeger was on the range, Minwoo was on the range. Like, are you really going to turn down a world-class facility with free golf balls? Come on.
Free golf balls, nice one. I mean, they have nice balls there.
But being in the middle was a choice.
that was definitely a choice.
Stick to the ends.
Well, that's U.S. Open week. That's the Travelers. Patrick, anything else before we rock and roll out of here?
I don't think so. No, I will say, just to circle back to airport etiquette, the lack of headphone usage in the world right now, Shane, is abysmal.
Just, I mean, like, when are we doing the speakerphone on the airplane? That's what I don't get, man.
I had a woman doing a Duolingo lesson next to me. I believe it was Japanese.
I mean, here again, listen. All life is, doing my Windhorse thing. All life is awareness. That's the only thing you've got to be able to accomplish in all of life, is just simply be aware, whether that's driving your car or that's walking, that's opening the door for somebody that's got stuff in their hands, that's helping out a parent that's got a crying baby. Just be aware. That's all we're asking, man. And golfers are brutal at awareness, right? But it's just trying to pay a little bit of attention to what's going around you and making sure that there you go. You're not the only one in this world. And if you can try to be a little aware day to day, you're winning.
The Golf on CBS show, the most aware golf show there is.
I don't know about that, but we try to be. Patrick will be back next week. We'll talk Travelers, and we'll look ahead at the rest of the season. We'll start those Open Championship picks. I'm going to have it. By the way, I promise you this next week. My 5 will not be the standard top 10 players in the world for this Open Championship. I will be a little bit more off the board. I think you got to be around an Open. Can't wait for Portrush and the rest. Can't wait for Travelers this week. It'll be a great one.